Hello and welcome to episode 21 of AFC Fylde, Still We Rise. We're here on Football Manager 2020 in my first YouTube Football Manager series. We've made it all the way to the end of March 2020 and today's episode features the FA Trophy semi-final second legs. We are at Harrogate Town. We defeated them 2-0 in the first leg. Over in the other side of the bracket, Barnet are ahead against Yeovil. They got a 4-3 win away, so they've brought Yeovil back and will be looking to do the business at their own stadium. It looks like it is set up that it's going to be first versus second in the National League for the FA Trophy, which is a little bit exciting. You were last with me for the 2-0 win against Halifax. I think so. It was a fairly routine win, wasn't it? Williams and Whitmore with the goals. That helped out our friends down at the bottom of the league, Stockport and Chorley. But they've not done so well as of late. We then welcomed Barnet to Mill Farm. Barnet, who are, of course, second place. We were in complete control. We extended our lead at the top of the National League. 4 goals, 4 different scorers. Proctor, Jameson, of course, with the corner conversion. Kozolo and Nick Horton amongst the goals. Mehdi Alito for Barnet. We then took on Barrow away from home at Holker Street. This one was a tough game. Really stubborn opposition at Barrow, both in Football Manager 2020 and in real life, I should say. Their striker, their main man, Quigley, he hit the woodwork twice. Desperately unlucky. But we did see another goal from Nick Horton late on after Alex Whitmore had given us the lead. His 12th goal of the season, and we are romping away in terms of statistics from goals converted from corners. Dover, we were disappointed to draw with our opposition here. We battered them, basically. We were all over them like a cheap suit, especially after Paul Rooney was sent off in the 52nd minute. But following his dismissal, we just couldn't find a way through. We absolutely pushed everything at them. We ended up with, I think it was just 2 centre-backs in defence and everybody in the other half of the field. But still, they held on. And all credit to them, actually. They deserve to take a point away from Mill Farm. We then took on Harrogate in the semi-final first leg. First half was very tight and made me very nervous that we weren't going to establish a lead in the first leg. Second half started, we earned a penalty. Jamie Proctor stuck it away. He actually has missed one recently. I think it was against Barrow. He went down the middle. Again, we've seen it before in the series. Unless you are in the final minute of the game, you do not go down the middle. You go down the middle at the end of the game because goalkeepers will dive. There's no goalkeeper just going to stand there while the striker just puts it in the corner. Not a chance. No, they're going to want to make the headlines. Save the penalty. Before that, all the way during the game, don't put it down the middle. Put it to either side. Take your chances. This time, Proctor got it right. He went to the goalkeeper's left on this one. Dan Bradley has come in to help with our midfield problems. We seem to have a lot of injuries at the minute affecting that part of the pitch. Danny Williams, our loan signing from Swansea, young lad we've brought in to sort of cover for Tom Walker. He's been off with the Welsh under-21s, which I guess is the price you pay for bringing in a decent player. But Bradders, 6 minutes after the penalty went in, established our 2-goal lead, and we saw it out from there. We then went away to Yeovil. Yeovil early season predictions to be fairly high up in the table. They've compounded those expectations and are very much mid-table. Jamie Proctor opening the scoring. He's in some really good form there. And then Virgil Gomes got the goal. I mean, Right, I'm going to go on a bit of a whinge here, because there were 2 minutes of extra time signalled at the end of the first half. After 3 minutes of extra time, and yes, I know it's only a minimum, but after 3 minutes of injury time, there was a foul. 4 minutes after the end of the game, at the end of the half, Virgil Gomez stuck away the penalty. I mean, what chance have we got? We fired up the lads at half time, and Jamie Proctor got his second of the game to gain us those vital 3 points in our fight to be crowned National League champions. We were, however, fined again after this one due to the number of yellow cards that we accumulated. I mean, it shows the players are getting stuck in. The worry for me is that if we keep a similar sort of squad set up for next season, should we get promoted to the Football League, I think we're going to get found out, and I think we're going to end up with a lot of red cards, because they tend to dive into tackles. I'm not sure if it's my setup. I mean, it probably is my setup. But we don't we're not telling them out of possession. Maybe it's the higher line. And that's appeared. I didn't even know about that. Alright, that's coming off. We're going to drop them slightly deeper. Go for the standard line. Throughout the season, this has evolved, as tactics tend to do. So let's see if that makes any difference whatsoever. You will notice, of course, plenty of green in average ratings. That is what we want to see. All we need to do for today's game against Harrogate is not lose by more than 2 goals. 2 goals will take it into extra time and penalties. A 1-0 loss is perfectly fine. If we get a goal, Harrogate have to score 3. 4 at least? I think they've got to score 4. Do away goals count? No, it's not telling me, is it? As we can see, Tom Walker is out. Lower back stress fracture, that's a bad one. And then Mark Yates, who probably would be one of his replacements, because he tends to do quite well in the middle. He is also out with a twisted ankle. In terms of our team selection, it's the standard setup, really. Kyle Jameson isn't fully fit. He's not going to be part of the squad. Neither is Kurt Willoughby or Andy Kellett. Kozolo is rested, which is a risk, but I really want to give Muldoon the full game against his former employers in Harrogate. Is interesting now is Muldoon, because he has now played, fairly sure it's 18 games for us. Sorry, he's up to 20 now. 20 games, 6 goals, 2 assists. In sort of similar amount of games he played for Harrogate earlier in the season, just 2 assists. So something wasn't going right for him. We only paid $7.25 grand to sign him. There are problems with the wage budget, I will tell you. We're 1.6 over a week because of bringing in the likes of Danny Williams and re-signing Nick Horton and Danny Phillips-Kirk to long contracts. We're just going to have to swallow it at the minute. Hopefully the money that we got from that FA Cup tie against Manchester City at the Etihad will keep us going for an extended length of time. Up front, Neeshaw and Falkringham in midfield. Always a big danger for Harrogate. Very understated, but occasionally just plays a blinder. So we are indeed 2-0 up. And let's just encourage the boys. We will be, I was checking on this, either in the last episode or on my own time. It's really difficult to remember at the minute because of the microphone off situation. We will be the first club to retain the FA Trophy since Grays Athletic in the mid-2000s. Should we get promoted to the Football League, obviously we won't have that chance next season to go 3 in a row because Football League clubs are not involved in the FA Trophy. Falkingham, really interesting player. I've said before, on the stream, that he reminds me of Mark Van Bommel in that he's constantly in the referee's ear. Not a minute goes past when he isn't trying to officiate the game, and he does it in a sort of manner. He's similar to your likes of Neil Warnock, who's back in football obviously with Middlesbrough. The clubs that have him love him, but the opposition hate him. I suppose that's a sign of a player doing a good job. Oh, it's a shot blocked. Proctor finding himself out wide. That's really not his game. Let's see if we can get this corner back in the mix to the far post. No, nothing happening. Russell Knowles is starting at right back, the young lad. Let's see if he can make a difference. He was one that we signed earlier in the season. When the campaign began, we only really had Luke Burke that could play at right back. Oh, it's a save from Belshaw. So we were really desperate for a replacement. It's a penalty. Jamie Proctor will take this. Do not go down the middle. Do not go down the middle. He didn't go down the middle and he scored. That means he's 21st of the season, and it means Harrogate need, I think it's 4 goals. It's at least 3 to level things up. They do indeed have a mountain to climb. So, as I was saying, we only had Luke Burke at right back. And you don't really want to waste a lot of wages bringing in a second string right back. Especially because you can kind of move a centre back out there. And we have done that with Alex Whitmore on occasions this season, who hasn't really let us down there. Neil Byrne did in one game, but Whitmore hasn't. So we plucked Russell Knowles, who was greyed out in our youth team, offered him a contract. His stats aren't brilliant. They're actually pretty terrible, if we're honest, but they are improving. So something's going right with the training. That gives me a little bit of hope that he will develop into a decent player. Building out of the back, oh no. Kiernan with the tackle, Andy Taylor. Diamond recycles possession. Let's see what Harrogate can do here. Collins with a big ball over, but it's Jordan Williams on the counter. That's it, son. Muldoon! No! Straight at the goalkeeper. Either side of him, and he would have scored there. Oh, look at this body language. That's not brilliant, is it? Complacent and uninterested. Nothing annoys me more than a complacent footballer. I did want to give Muldoon the full game, so I think we'll bring on Philliskirk for Proctor. Luke Burke is on our bench, as is young Jovan Malcolm. I may give him a run out on the left. If we're still ahead on the hour, we'll bring Jordan Williams off, who plays quite a lot of games for us, especially now that Mark Yates has got injured. Phage, oh, good effort, son. And Lavercombe getting over there. A spring in his step. Harrogate are one of the better teams in the National League. They're 8th in the table, just outside the playoffs. But as in real life, they're always up there in the discussion. You always want to be in the conversation for the playoffs at least. And Harrogate always seem to be around there, certainly from my memory. A really good side, and in real life, obviously, they've got Jack Muldoon, and he's been one of the standout players in the National League in real life over the last few seasons, both at Fylde and then the 2 seasons that he's had subsequently with Harrogate. But that's not a great effort from him. He did score against Harrogate earlier in the season, you may recall. And Danny Philliskirk has picked up a knock, a gashed lower leg, but it's not affected his stats that much. We're going to leave him on in that case then. Worst case scenario, we'll bring on Lewis Montrose for him and push perhaps Nick Horton a bit further forward. I don't want to go strikerless, although I have experimented with it a little bit in recent weeks, just because of our injury problems, especially when Jamie Proctor was out with an injury. Yeah, he's Phyllis Kirk's still at 89% there, so can't be a serious one. It'll be, I expect, one of those that leave him out for a couple of days, but he's fit enough for our next game. I mean, his condition's improved. It was 9, yeah, it's gone back up to 90. A really even game here, 10 shots, 11 each now. And this will be another one for Harrogate, you would think. Offside flag, denying them the opportunity. All seems very even in terms of condition. Just a few players, especially the substitutes, that are head and shoulders above the rest. You'll notice that we do have Dan Lavercombe in goal. He was made clear in a couple of episodes ago that he is our second choice goalkeeper. But I do like to give him a run out in the cups. Give him a bit of football at least. Whether that translates to a potential FA Trophy final, that's another decision for another day. I'm not sure that I would be happy leaving out our established number one. Such a big game. Horton with the effort. Bit of a clip. Not going to beat Belshaw from there. And we are 5 minutes away from confirming our place in the FA Trophy final. Lavercombe, just run the clock down a little bit, and there you go. No need to hoof them. What did I just say? No need to hoof the ball upfield. And that's put back in a bit of a lucky save by Lavercombe. I think he zigged when he should have zagged, but managed to get a foot to it. Just counted down the seconds to assure our place back at Wembley. Our third visit to Wembley in 2 seasons. Oh, and Lavercombe again with the lucky save. I mean, it better be a lucky goalkeeper than a good one, I suppose. Wilson Neeshaw hasn't impressed, I don't think. I say that, he's going to score now. No, they made the clearance. We're 30 seconds over time here, ref. And that's it. We are through to the final of the FA Trophy for a second year in succession. The boys were magnificent. No complacency now. I can't see that one. But morale is up, as well it should be. Not a great amount of impressive performances from the boys. However, in cup football, a win is a win. We saw earlier this weekend. Hang on, this will be released on Friday. Oh, last Saturday it will be by the time you see this. Manchester United against Norwich. I know United fans that were disappointed with their performance, but you're through. Don't worry about it. A win's a win. You know, when you raise a trophy, you raise that FA Cup aloft. You don't think, we have to take extra time in the quarter-final. Nah. Barnet are through in the other game, so they won 2-1 on the day against Yeovil. Cultthirst doing his usual goal-scoring performance. 6-4 on aggregate. That is going to be an interesting one. So, file do indeed book our Wembley place. Phyllis Kirk, will he be out for 2 weeks with the gashed lower leg? Yeah, he joins the walking wounded down here. And the chairman's very happy to have received 20 grand in prize money. Well, you enjoy it, chairman, but if you could put it into the wage budget, that would be much appreciated. Our next episode, that will be episode 22, will be away at Chorley. From then on, the plan is whichever game we can win the league will be broadcast, in the hope that we do. And then, of course, the FA Trophy final, when we travel over to Wembley. What will happen in the off-season is we'll do a bit of a stats roundup on how we've performed this season. And there are some really good ones, especially our indirect free kicks and corners. And then we want to have a look round the save, see what has happened, who's won the other leagues, who's got promoted, who's got relegated. And then we'll have to do one on squad building. I also do want to do, I need to have a look at training properly. I tend to leave training to the coaches because if things are going well and I don't want to mess about with it, especially when there have been no bad performances. It's usually Mark Yates down there, to be honest. And we do get a lot of good performances in training. So I tend to sort of leave it to Kenny McKenna and the team. But I think next season we're going to have to start taking a bit more of an interest. So I'd quite like to look at training. And as I say, the player sort of in and outs, there are a lot that I'm really looking at the minute. Our shortlist keeps on growing of players that I've sent the scouts out to look at. So originally, you remember, we saw it earlier in the season, it was just 3 players. It's now gone across. We've got more than we can fit on one page. All of which are being scouted and considered. Jamie Retford, they don't really like him, do they? Oh, they think he'd be our best left back though. Retford is obviously Solihull, and he's a really good player. Every time I see him play, I think he's very good. Doesn't quite prefer the wing back role, so he's certainly somebody to consider. What is the Tunnock's Caramel Wafer? What's that? Challenge Cup. Oh, it's a Scottish competition. I read about this recently because Arbroath won it. The Tunnock's Caramel Wafer Challenge Cup. How did he play there? Was he on loan? A Solihull Moors in the Scottish competition. That's interesting. I never knew that. Do they invite? They must invite a team from the lower leagues. Sorry, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I'm quite interested. Reserves. Well, Solihull aren't on there, are they? When? Ah, there. Right, 3rd round. That's interesting. Wrexham are there as well. And Bohemians. I'm going to have a look into this. And the New Saints. Well, that is an interesting one. You live and learn, don't you? Every day is an opportunity for new knowledge. I did not know about the Tunnock's Caramel Wafer. I can't stop laughing. I'm going to have to not laugh when I say that. Yeah, because of course, on loan at Arbroath, you may recall, is one of our boys, James Cragen, currently injured. But he's played there as well. They won the competition. And I got a message about it. I thought it was a joke. I didn't sort of take it seriously. He's played, he's made 32 appearances for him this season and done really well. Was he in the squad for the final? He was. He picked up a winner's medal. Well done, son. It's actually his 2nd success in Scotland. Previously with Partick Thistle. I've got to say that carefully because I tend to say Patrick. Partick Thistle. They won the Scotland Ladbrokes Championship back in 2013. So yeah, there you go. Solihull Moors must have got the invitation to appear. Are there rules? Second round, yeah, I know it works. No. It says nothing about the third round. Here we go. Structure 32. No, it says nothing about how people are invited to it. That's amazing. Right, I'm going to do some research on that, and then episode 22 is going to begin with me talking about the Tunnocks Caramel Wafer Challenge Cup. Interesting one. We've gone actually a bit longer than I planned today. I was trying to get it under 20 minutes. That's not worked out, has it? However, thank you for viewing. Thank you for coming along. Like, share, subscribe, tell your mates, do the Friday follow thing on Twitter, all that sort of thing. We're now really sort of moving towards the end of the season. We've got a 11-point lead now over Barnet, who do have a game in hand due to the fact that their fixture was postponed between the two FA Trophy semi-final legs, somewhat ironically, obviously, given real-life events this season, and the fact that they only made it in the playoffs above Stockport because they had a couple of games postponed. I'm not sure which one it was, but be that as it may, they are second, but 11 points back. And if we can continue our form, we are going to win the league, I think, 3 games before the end of the season, which would be away at Ebbsfleet. Oh, that's going to be a tough one, that. In fact, the next few are tough. Woking are bottom of the league, so they're fine, scrapping for their lives. Chorley are down there as well. Hartlepool, difficult side to play against. I don't think we did that well against them earlier in the season. If I can find when we played them. I thought it was a pretty tough game. Yeah, only 2-1. And they took the lead through Luke James. Had to mount a comeback there. That's going to be tough. Ebbsfleet are up in the playoffs. Torquay, I don't know where Torquay are. 6th playoffs as well. And then Wrexham on the last day of the season in 3rd. So it's a difficult run-in. But the title is very much in our hands. Worst case scenario, we have qualified for the playoffs, which would make a 4th trip to Wembley, should we get through, in 2 years. But I don't want that. I just want done and dusted, promotion, let's go.